Hello, I'm Rosie and I'm the radio coordinator at Distorted. I'm on a quest to find out about the ins and outs of all the jobs in the music industry. Today I'm chatting to Jamie Kemp. Jamie is the commercial director of the renowned label Toolroom, and he also owns his own label, 03. Beginning his career in car sales, we chat about Jamie's progression into the music industry, what drives and motivates him, and what it takes to succeed in a label environment. Hope you enjoy!
Someone who can make music but only has 100 followers on Instagram, they still deserve a lift up and given a chance. Sometimes we'll stick a record out and we're like, right, we really believe in this, and we put in all the effort into marketing and the budgets, we're blasting everything that we've got, and it won't potentially connect. Don't doubt yourself in any situation. Just go for it.
So I normally start these chats by asking you why you chose a career in the music industry.
Do you know what? I was working in sales. I was working at selling BMWs back in the day. And I was always in sales, and I kind of reached the point. I came out of uni and I reached the point I was like, do you know what I mean? This could just be my life forever, just like talking to the same person, like selling the same product. And I don't know, I was in this place I really wanted to explore stuff, and I'd kind of done a lot of lads' holidays in those kind of Malia and Magaluf and all of those kind of party islands when I was younger, and I kind of got the bug for DJing right back then, and I kind of experimented with it a few times, and it was that kind of like secret passion of mine in the background, and I kind of went to a DJ academy called Subbase in London, learned how to DJ, and was slowly getting into it. And I was actually doing the kind of rounds on the circuit and, DJing and having to sell tickets to your mates to kind of get gigs and blah, blah, blah. It's quite, real hard graft. But I knew like that was something that I really wanted to do and try and turn it into, a full-time career, put the passion that I had, knowing that I was, doing these DJ mixes, spending hours of my weekends just putting these things together because I wanted to. I was playing to no one in my bedroom and stuff, which was great. And I was like, right, I can, I've got a real buzz for this, and I have quite a lot of drive as a person. So I was kind of like researching possibilities really, and Toolroom was 40 minutes down the road from me. So then I was like, okay, this is the sights I've got set for myself. I need to try and get into the music industry through there. And it was kind of like, I suppose it was a bit of a sky high dream to start with, because I didn't really know what was possible. All I knew was that DJing was really cool, and I really wanted to try and do it a little bit more. And I was kind of a real big fanboy of all the artists that Toolroom had back in there. So it was kind of like, I didn't actually at the time realize how close the label was to where I was living. So it kind of all just fell into place really, and that was kind of my step to knowing that I wanted to be in the music industry, I suppose.
So you had your eyes firmly set on Toolroom?
Do you know what? Only when I realised how close it was. I was listening to a lot of Defected back then, and I mean, we're talking 15, 16 years ago that I was really thinking about getting in. I'm getting to the old stage now. When I realised that Toolroom was just down the road, it was like, okay, right, that could be the easy target for me. And that's why I really went for Toolroom.
And then how did you land the job?
Do you know what? It was pestering. It was pestering for a number of years, if I'm honest.
True salesman.
It was really like that. And just persistence and being really passionate about what you want to do. I think, I always say that to a lot of artists that I work with now as well. It's just like, if you're good at what you do and you believe in it and you've got something to offer, then don't be scared to try and go and get it. And, I've always kind of taken that inspiration from my family and those people who have kind of given me direction when I was growing up. And, so that's why I applied to this. And, a few dead emails and went into the black hole of nothingness, and then slowly one came back. And I did actually have an interview 2 years before I actually got the first job that I got here, and it was a no to start with. So I had to go away and try and improve myself a bit more, and I kind of got back out into the DJ scene more and more and more, and then I reapproached it, and then this random position came up. It was like an internship, so it was kind of like a low level job compared to what I was doing at BMW. I was kind of coming back home with not a bad wage from BMW, and living with some mates in a shared flat and stuff. It was a kind of cool thing to then having to go to this internship to I don't know, having kind of a very different life, which was quite interesting.
It's quite a big leap, isn't it?
It was a big leap. It was a really big leap, and it was a bit of a kind of leap of faith, if anything, But yeah, I thought it's a great opportunity to get into the music industry, which a lot of people crave and desire these days. And it was a good chance for me to kind of get started, and haven't looked back since, really.
So what was this internship? What did it entail?
So the internship was working within like the royalties department here at Toolroom, and essentially it was like glorified filing at the time. It was like glorified filing and admin, really, realistically.
A lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah, a lot of like random bits of data. A lot of chasing up other record labels to provide royalty statements to the label. All the really important stuff, because it's kind of just those little bits of income streams that make the difference back then. Especially when I joined, licensing was quite an important part of record label operations as well. It's kind of changed now. When the streaming model came in, that kind of really just kind of stopped. But before then, labels would license each other tracks kind of for compilations and exclusive use in territories. So there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of kind of royalties every 6 months that you had to process and invoice. And so in the office, there was stacks and stacks of folders and like lots of paper. That too many trees had been cut down in the office, that's for sure. But yeah, do you know what I mean? It wasn't my dream job by any chance, but it was a good chance to get my foot in the door.
Yeah, and I suppose potentially what you learn in that internship you've kind of taken with you throughout your progression in the company. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. Do you know what? I sat there in the role and I was like, this is not going to be me. This isn't me forever. This is just like me proving myself. And actually, a lot of the roles that I've done within Toolroom, because I have touched on a lot of roles here now, they're all building blocks and foundations to how a record label should work efficiently and properly. And the knowledge I have taken from that is like, I find it quite important, because everyone who does work within a record label needs to understand all those, the different parts of how a label does operate. So even though it probably was quite a boring job back at the time, I understand everything from royalty terms to all the legal aspects that go with it, to other contacts with other labels, and then even that role then developed into a more of a licensing job itself. This is how the progression started. So actually, instead of just administering the royalties, it was actually kind of going to other labels and trying to license the catalog and actually generate the income myself for the label, kind of thing. So yeah, it was kind of a good start to how that kind of that journey went, really.
So then maybe you could list off all the jobs you had at Toolroom to then become commercial director.
Yeah, well, I suppose so we started off in the royalty department, and that was great. And then we went into the licensing department. So licensing is all about generating income from other uses rather than traditional digital sales, or back then it was just mostly download before streaming came. That role really developed quite heavily, and there was a lot of different moves within that, and it turned into more of a creative licensing role where I was almost working with artists to create music for licensing purposes rather than just releasing normally on the label, kind of thing, which there was a lot of great examples of that. A lot of really commercial records that have not seen the day, light of day within label setup, but have gone on to do some really cool things, adverts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was a really cool part of the job, which was it took me all sorts. It took me to other territory licenses. We did kind of full deals with certain territories for the whole catalog. So we were working with specialists within with other countries to kind of promote our music in their territories a bit better than we would. Then I was given the opportunity to kind of look after all the digital income, speak to DSPs, make sure that we're representing ourselves to the editors and the people that matter, I suppose, most. So it was kind of giving the keys to, the shop window of Toolroom, and make sure that we're kind of generating the income that we should be getting from the records and best placement. And that's been a real tough job because, being an independent label here, and we've remained independent. We haven't gone with any big distributor or taken big payouts from distributors and stuff. We've tried to keep our ethos very independent, and fighting against that traditional model of going with a distributor, getting bigger playlists within those ecosystems and stuff is a tough one. But we've spent a lot of years kind of like developing that. So my role there really was challenging that and like seeing how best we could drive our revenue, still being an independent but getting the results that we needed. And I think that's been a really exciting journey. And then there's like these offshoots of like my creativity that I really wanted to kind of grasp, because I am a creative human, and I was DJing myself and making music myself, and I kind of wanted to input that within the company and see how I could kind of use my creative expertise a little bit, I suppose, with helping others. So two branches came from that. All of these jobs I still do now, which is it does take a lot of time up. But one of them was like publishing for Toolroom. So I took on the reins. Someone else left from the publishing department. I was like, okay, well, kind of like this is going to fall into the royalties realm. So because we have to pay artists out for the publishing side of things anyway. So naturally, it just ended up on my lap for the whole of the creative side as well. So I spent the kind of last 10 years trying to work with various artists on the publishing side, which is obviously very different to the master side, where we're kind of linking up with different artists, maybe working on projects for different labels, or again, it links back nicely into the licensing and the sync side of things. So kind of like there's a little bit of a full circle there, but it's a totally different challenge for me. Mm-hmm. And then I started this record label called 03 as well, just the final step, which is a more of a melodic progressive dance label, which was born out of the love of getting a lot of amazing melodic music that we got here at Toolroom, and there wasn't really a home for it. And it was kind of like, well, why can't we create a home for that? Because there's some amazing talent, and working with these guys in that space, it's like you realize how much talent there is within that genre. Like people have to understand chords, they have to understand progressions, they have to understand everything about melodies to kind of create that music. And it's been fascinating and watch that grow. But that was solely just to create another revenue stream for Toolroom as well. So kind of like this. I have this attitude of, really just wanted to take on more work and push. And then slowly, that was the commercial director after that, which, is where I am now.
Yeah, sounds like you've had such a broad spectrum in the company, and it also sounds like you've kind of created roles for yourself as well, playing to your strengths, which is a great thing to do. And it probably has given you a lot more opportunity.
Totally.
But going to your commercial director role then, which is the role you're in now, what does your day-to-day look like as commercial director?
Do you know what? It's different. It's really different every day. The whole purpose of my role is like I'm doing a bit of all the things looking after digital and making sure the income's coming in, but also working with the A&R team to kind of like create the right artists to be targeting in terms of more of a commercial angle rather than just purely from a creative angle. We work quite closely as a team here in terms of the music side of things. Mm-hmm. And the role kind of overlooks kind of that whole thing of how are we going to generate the most income out of these projects, and how are we going to make the best use of all of our time. So I'm not kind of like the one who's making the final decisions on music, but I'm kind of that annoying little brother poking in the corner saying, like, we need to think about this, and maybe why don't we think about this? Because it's kind of like my role to kind of make sure that we're pushing on and we're hitting targets, and we're investing back into the company so we can invest back into the artists, and because that's what we love helping out artists and developing newer acts here. Like, that's always been something that Toolroom has been so hot on, and we continue to be on, is like the artist development side of things. And especially in this modern world, I think that's ever more important, that you're able to really create artist stories and take someone from the ground upwards. So that's what we kind of like doing as part of my commercial director role as well, is kind of coming out with these strategies alongside the music team to kind of, right, who are we going to be pushing through to replace X, Y, Z, or when certain older artists that we have want to stop, like, we need to be able to replace them with younger talent that appeal to the Gen Z markets, and those that are coming up through watching music through TikTok or listening to stuff through SoundCloud, like those newer platforms that the younger generation are focusing on. Is like, how do we make sure that we're still relevant on those? Because we're great, we can do well on Beatport, and we can appeal to those markets that are established, and those DJs that are there. But I think the important thing about any label is like how you keep on top of those trends, and I think that's that's a really interesting part of my role, is like really helping to push that forward with the rest of the guys here. But then the nuts and bolts of the rest of what I told you is still, speaking to the DSPs, making sure we're getting really good features, following up with releases to kind of make sure that DSPs are aware of what we're up to, because we put in a lot of effort with our marketing campaigns. Time and blood, sweat, tears goes into these campaigns to make sure that we're putting like full effort into all the singles that we sign. And that, there's a lot of effort goes in there, and we have quite, we have a lot of releases on Toolroom, and like keeping on top of those is a real challenge sometimes, when you're releasing 4 times a month on the main label, and then you're trying to like kind of bring them, support them with a great marketing campaign, and then present them to store and tell them that each of these records is doing well. It's quite a lot of like workload, and so you have to almost like kind of juggle what you're doing that, but it's an interesting role. I'm ever looking to develop it more and more, and kind of come up with new concepts of how we push that forward, and target these newer ideas that potentially can then take a tangent and go off on somewhere else. But we're working on a few interesting bits at the moment, which buzzes me up. I'm really into fitness and stuff at the moment, and it's something that we're really like looking to try and maybe push towards. And there's so many commercial ideas that can come from that. So like, I think with any role in the music industry, especially, I think the opportunities are endless. I think that I really do believe in that, and I think if you really believe in working hard and you've got some ideas, then like they can really take off, and you can really push forward on that. But so I'm really working on some really cool things at the moment, and looking forward to pushing this role on a bit more.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. And I just thought as well, people that are listening might want to be involved in labels, but there also might be artists and DJs. And you just mentioned earlier about part of your role is to encourage new artists and DJs and help them. What are you looking for in an artist or an upcoming artist? What traits should they have for them to catch your eye?
Obviously, a lot of people are looking at social media stats, and some people go straight to TikTok and be like, "Oh, how big are they on TikTok?" But I don't always think that we behave like that here. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure. But we always like base it purely on what we hear in the headphones first of all, and especially like my work on the sub label 03 as well. It's just, I hit play, and if I like it and there's something really interesting there, I then look to go and develop something with someone. Ideally, they have some kind of social presence, right? Mm-hmm. And they have some kind of like traction within the market, especially on Toolroom. Toolroom's a different beast. We have to think a bit differently. It's a business that supports a lot of staff, a lot of artists. So we have to make sure we're making the right decisions to cater for everything there. That's the kind of luxury of having a few different sub labels under the kind of Toolroom umbrella, is that we're able to filter down through various labels, different levels of talent, because someone who can make music but only has 100 followers on Instagram, they still deserve to be able to give a lift up in the ladder and given a chance.
Yeah.
This kind of label network we have within Toolroom is really important for that. Others, some of the ones we've got feed the main label. 03 has always been my idea of like almost like a feeder label to those other bigger labels within the scene there as well. So a lot of people have gone over to Anjuna Beats and Armada and Majors, like sign big deals, which it's amazing to see. So I think going back to your question, it's just, some kind of spark within the music and some ability to be able to create something that sparks some emotion is what, if we feel it in here and we like it, we'll push forward with it. Like, everyone has to just really enjoy the music. We don't sign it off like fads and, okay, like this potentially it could be huge. It's like, do we like this? Like in the office, like that's how we first look at an artist, and then the next steps happen from there, whether it's on the tour and main label or whether it's a sub label or but I think essentially it's all quite the same. It's just that natural spark and that natural connection that you have with the piece of music that's put in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. What's your favourite thing about your job in the music industry?
Do you know what? I think it's really it's given me so many opportunities to meet so many different people and travel the world with it. Like, I get to go everywhere and speak to different people and speak to different cultures, and I don't think I would have ever got that if I stayed in sales, for instance. If I was still selling BMWs right now, I'd be still speaking to the same middle-aged man who's going to talk to me like they don't really care about me, but they just want that car in front of them. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the music industry has given me a chance to speak to some amazing people who are some of the best people I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
All think of the same, and I think that's been a privilege. I come to work, be able to help other people in their career, help listen to music all day. Not that some days you don't actually want to listen to music because you listen to music every day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But those three things really: traveling the world, connecting with so many different people, and like helping people in their careers. Is like, I think those three things are really like wholesome for me, and I think they really make a big difference for my day-to-day life now.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All three of them,
yeah.
I like them. Yeah. On the flip side, what is the most challenging thing you find in your job?
I suppose being an independent label is hard. Like, that's what I said earlier. Like, we don't have financial backing from other people. We don't have big people behind us in the background. We are doing everything ourselves. So sometimes there's some big ups and some big downs, and I think you have to roll with the punches there a little bit, but and being a label of like 20 plus years, like sometimes that does come with its challenges as well. The Gen Z audience, making sure you're relevant to younger people. There's some challenges that come with that, which can be really frustrating sometimes, but I think they're all over, that we can overcome all of them. And but yeah, sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge for us, but.
Yeah, and I think when you're so passionate about something as well, you just want it to work so badly.
100%.
That's almost a challenge in itself.
Yeah, it's and frustratingly, sometimes it's like the things that you don't put the most effort into that pop off, and like sometimes we'll stick a record out and we're like, right, we really believe in this, and we put in all the effort into the marketing and the budgets, like we're blasting everything that we've got on a certain record, and that won't potentially connect for some reason, or it may connect at radio, do really well at radio, but then it doesn't translate into streams necessarily, or vice versa, doing well at streaming and you're not getting any connection in the DJ world, and it's frustrating. So there's there's so many different things, and but yeah, and then it could be a record that you haven't put any effort into, or you don't necessarily think is gonna like perform as well, and that really just pops off, and you're like, right, well, what have we missed here? And like we have to like reassess a little bit sometimes, but sometimes it's just pure luck, and you never know exactly what's going to connect sometimes, which is it's an interesting one. It can be frustrating though. That's what all I'm getting at.
I love that part of the industry though, the unpredictability, where you just don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen, and then something surprises you, and then you're sat with your team thinking, why on earth has that just spiked, or why has this
Yeah.
station taken this on? I think it's great. It's fast paced.
Yeah, you probably get that all the time as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always shocked at something day in, day out in my job role.
That's good though. It keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? That's the thing, and I think that's important. In any job, keeping you on your toes.
When you came into Toolroom, did you have a mentor or anybody to look up to, and you think, oh, I'd like their role, or anybody that helped you move up that ladder in the company?
Do you know what? I was always like very self-sufficient. Like I saw that it was quite a small team when I came into Toolroom, but I hugely respected like Mark and Stuart Knight. Like you know, I was a big fan of Mark back in the day when I was DJing on my own anyway. So like being able to come into the office and actually like sit there and he come in and like go, "Hi, morning guys," and I was like, okay, well, this is a bit weird. And like the first time, like I remember him like texting me about something. I was like, I should just show my mates. I was like, look, Mark's texting me, kind of thing. So I was almost, I know it's how sad.
No, it's
Don't get a big head, Mark. That was quite cool, being able to like start to live my musical dream a little bit, and kind of get buzzed up by people who had started, you know, a business from essentially nothing, you know, like that. So, you know, hustled to create something like original and hugely successful. So for that, I mean, that was like a great kickstart for me. And I think in the background, you know, the motivation I have daily, I mean, realistically, I think came from my family. I always like was pushed as a kid, and especially my mum, like she was always like wanted the best for us and push. And same as my granddad, like I was installed this kind of like, I don't know, this work ethic a little bit, and I kind of always had that in my head of like wanting to kind of make sure that they were proud of me, I suppose, and so that kind of really like kept driving me to kind of go up to the next steps.
Mm-hmm.
That was how I kind of had the self-motivation to kind of make sure I was doing like creating these new ideas and pushing on, and like being a bit of a yes man and saying, yeah, I'm going to take this on, and I'm going to develop this. Like we don't need to employ someone else. I'm going to develop this. Like I think that just comes naturally to me, and yeah, I really enjoy being like that. I think it's just I use that in other parts of life as well, which I think I'm quite a driven person in general. So
yeah,
which can be frustrating sometimes. Like because you're always in your head and you're always like, right, what's next? But
you want the next thing. Yeah, I get that.
Which is good. Yeah, it's a good and a bad thing. But yeah, do you get it? Do you do it yourself, or
something happens and it's great, and then I'm like, okay, now what? What's next? I can never really seem to settle.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are like that in this industry. When I was at AD, I was speaking to a few people there, and DJs and artists, and I think there's always this need for more.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's a good trait to have if you want to be in this industry, I reckon.
I think so too. I suppose it's something like creative people probably have in their brains, is like, because it's just there, isn't it? You're always like, okay, you're always on and you're always thinking differently, and like, what's next? So I think, yeah, I get it from a lot of people. Not everyone, you know, like, you know, you meet some people who don't always want that, which is like, you actually need that kind of balance in a working environment as well, which I think is nice to have. Because if everyone was the same, then that would be absolute chaos.
Yeah, it would. It's nice to have a balance, and also you can burn yourself out a little bit sometimes having this drive. Sometimes it's quite nice to just stay still for a little bit and just reflect on what you've actually accomplished.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to do that sometimes, but you're so reliant on the streams and the performance each month that you have to like always be like switched on now. And we always have to be really worried, really cautious about what's coming up and what the next thing is. And so that's like the only thing is on this role is like, it almost feels like it is like a switched on role constantly.
It's not like your 9 to 5, is it? And again, I think that's like a lot of roles in the industry, is there's not really a switch off button. It's 24/7. Probably you're on call all the time. unless you choose a different role in the industry that's 9 to 5, which there are a lot out there. But
Yeah.
I reckon in a label setting as well, it's pretty 24/7.
It can be, and I think like we always try and say that to people coming in, like newer, younger guys in here. Is like, look, like the world is your oyster, and it's how much time and effort you put into the role and what you get out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You know, if you want to go home at like 5 o'clock or have you bang on the dot, then that's cool. Like you can by all means, but like it's sometimes the extra tiny bit of effort that happens outside of their hours, or like those creative bits that happen that are not always on within those working hours. That's sometimes important to grow up the ladder a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like in the label, we're so relaxed. It's like it is getting about getting your work done. It's not about, right, you have to be here within these hours. It's just like put in the effort and like and grind it out a little bit and get kind of get the results, and you'll be rewarded for it. And I think that's the kind of attitude that we come with, and I think it really is. I suppose that really appeals to my motivational side as well. It's just like I can, with the newer girls and girls coming in, I can be kind of like, okay, this is where I got to from putting X, Y, Z effort in. Like, you should do the same, and like, please do. And I try and encourage people to do it. And it's like, just keep going and like put your head down, and like you'll get to wherever you want to. And I think I'll always say that, and I think it's always so true.
Yeah, and it's great to have that space and opportunity to develop.
Mm-hmm.
I know I feel like that in Distorted as well. They give you opportunities to explore, and if it might go right, it might go wrong, but you just never know unless you do it.
100%, and nothing's really gone wrong for you though, has it? You've done really well. You've done, and I know you were smashing it with the radio stuff for us. So it's.
Thank you. I'll take that. We'll keep that bit in the edit.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, exactly. Take that as a little nugget.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Didn't pay him to say that either.
Or just take it to Nick for a little pay rise. That's all.
My annual review in January. I'll just get this clip on loop. Thanks for that.
No worries.
So, if you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be?
There can be a lot of like negative people in the industry, and a lot of people that are not always out for the best for everyone, which I've experienced quite a lot of that over the years, and it's quite eye-opening sometimes. But I think that's the dog-eat-dog world that the music industry is potentially. It kind of short shelf life stuff, always looking for the next kind of quick money earner. That's kind of a bit of a negative thing about the industry in that respect. It can be quite stressful for people in there. And obviously artists really struggle sometimes. We try and do everything we can to negate those kind of things, but I do feel that sometimes is a bit of a negative thing about the industry.
Yeah, it can be pretty brutal.
You do really need a thick skin, and like I think if you stand up for yourself a little bit and you're strong-willed, I think you get a long way in the music industry. I think a lot of people respect that. If you have an opinion and you're kind of polite but like firm with some things, and that's how I've like survived dealing with lots of issues that have come up over the years. It's just kind of like be quite switched on to stuff and knowledge, know what I'm talking about in certain situations.
When I was at uni, we got taught one of the main things in the industry is don't be a dick. And if you're getting taught that at uni, then... And I was thinking, why do they keep saying this? Like, obviously, this is normal life. And then I started doing work in the industry and I understood it pretty quickly, why that was hammered into our brains from the start. It's
so true, though. And actually, it's a really small industry. So, like, you kind of... everyone kind of knows everyone somehow, or that your name's going to appear somewhere along the line, and I think that you just don't need to be like that. And but yeah, majority of people are not, but I have experienced quite a bit of it over the years. But
as is life. And then the last thing I like to close the conversation with is, what would you give advice to your younger self?
I've been very happy with how I've like taken my kind of growth and my development over the years. I've always said that I wouldn't change anything realistically. I think I've always worked very hard, and I think maybe back in the day, like where I was really into music and I was producing and stuff, I think maybe believe in myself a little bit more, because I had this point where I was doing really well in terms of being an actual artist myself, and maybe there was a bit of like lack of self-belief that I couldn't make it properly then. So I took the easier route and going to do something full-time, which I think, it's worked out amazingly now. But also at the time, I was making music where there wasn't as much competition, and, DJs weren't as full, and everyone, kind of loads of people were DJing all the time, and it was kind of a real opportunity to develop then. So maybe I would have said to myself back then, maybe believe in yourself a little bit more. And that's probably my advice to everyone else, is like, if you've got a little dream or a little nugget, or there's something that you're really passionate about, just like full send it, like there's no reason why you can't get somewhere else. And I think like I proved it in work. That's the thing, and that's the amazing thing about how I've progressed, is like, I have believed in myself, and I have like put the effort in and the work, and it's, I've achieved a lot, and I'm really proud of some of the bits that I've managed to smash here at Toolroom. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'd say to myself, is just like, don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself in any situation. Just go for it.
Great advice. And are you still doing a bit of DJing?
I'm like nearly 38 now, and I enjoy exercise. I enjoy like National Trust places, and I love a rave, and I love listening to music, but I haven't touched a pair of decks in a long time now. That said, I'm like really into photography, and I am making music still a little bit in the background. I haven't showed anything to anyone for a while. Potentially that I could slowly start pushing some like secret stuff out that no one knows it's me, potentially at some point, but who knows?
I'll have to keep my eyes peeled.
Well, you'll never know, Rosie. You'll never know.
Not unless you slip up.
That's where I'm at the moment, but it's still being creative. But I don't think the DJing side of things will happen again.
Fair enough. Look, there's nothing wrong with an early bedtime. That's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
Early bedtime and a bit of crap TV.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine too. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to catch the next one. And if you'd like to ask our guests any questions, or if there are any job roles that you'd love to know more about, then get in touch with me via LinkedIn @Rosie Black.